Good afternoon. Today we'll be coming to the tail end of our discussion of Song of Solomon, but we're going to zoom out a little bit and look at how the hero's journey applies not only in Song of Solomon, but also can be found in other works of literature. As an overview, our objective today, at the end of this class, each one of you should be able to identify the three elements of the hero's journey, especially as we find in Song of Solomon in your Google Slide entries that we've been working on. So first we'll start with a warm-up, as always. Then we're going to look at what makes a hero. Afterwards, we'll discuss the hero's journey before looking at examples of the hero's journey and then delving into how that applies to Song of Solomon. Why is this relevant? Then we'll complete the exit ticket because I want to see that each one of you has mastered this. I'd like a volunteer now to please read the quotation on the board by Joseph Campbell. Maria, could you read this? Thank you. You enter the forest at the darkest point, where there is no path. Where there is a way or path, it is someone else's path. You are not on your own path. If you follow someone else's way, you are not going to realize your potential. Joseph Campbell. Thank you, Maria. Now, individually in your Google Slide journals, please explain what you think this quotation means. Feel free to free write in paragraph form, to use bullet points, include pictures, whatever you think best represents this quotation and what you think it means. Great, so at this point I'd like a couple volunteers to just share out loud how you interpret this quotation. Yes, I agree. Very nice. So to continue, kind of like what Jacob was saying, that when a person pursues their own career or make their own choices, they often are following their heart. This ties into what we're going to discuss with the hero's journey. And to introduce that topic, we're going to watch this video clip.
What do Harry Potter, Katniss Everdeen, and Frodo all have in common with the heroes of ancient myths? What if I told you they are all variants of the same hero? Do you believe that? Joseph Campbell did. He studied myths from all over the world and published a book called The Hero with a Thousand Faces, retelling dozens of stories and explaining how each represents the monomyth, or hero's journey. So, what is the hero's journey? Think of it as a cycle. The journey begins and ends in the hero's ordinary world, but the quest passes through an unfamiliar, special world. Along the way, there are some key events. Think about your favorite book or movie. Does it follow this pattern? Status quo. That's where we start. 1 o'clock. Call to adventure. The hero receives a mysterious message, an invitation, a challenge. 2 o'clock. Assistance. The hero needs some help, probably from someone older, wiser. 3 o'clock. Departure. The hero crosses the threshold from his normal, safe home and enters the special world and adventure. We're not in Kansas anymore. 4 o'clock. Trials. Being a hero is hard work. Our hero solves a riddle, slays a monster, escapes from a trap. 5 o'clock. Approach. It's time to face the biggest ordeal, the hero's worst fear. 6 o'clock. Crisis. This is the hero's darkest hour. He faces death and possibly even dies, only to be reborn. 7 o'clock. Treasure. As a result, the the hero claims some treasure, special recognition, or power. 8 o'clock, result. This can vary between stories. Do the monsters bow down before the hero, or do they chase him as he flees from the special world? 9 o'clock, return. After all that adventure, the hero returns to his ordinary world. 10 o'clock, new life. This quest has changed the hero. He has outgrown his old life. 11 o'clock, resolution. All the tangled plot lines get straightened out. 12 o'clock, status quo, but upgraded to a new level. Nothing is quite the same once you're a hero. Many popular books and movies follow this ancient formula pretty closely, but let's see how well The Hunger Games fits the hero's journey template. When does Katniss Everdeen hear a call to adventure that gets the story moving? When her sister's name is called from the lottery. How about assistance? Is anyone going to help her on her adventure? Hey, Mitch. What about departure? Does she leave her ordinary world? She gets on a train to the capital. Okay, so you get the idea. What do you have in common with Harry Potter, Katniss Everdeen, and Frodo? Well, you're human, just like them. The hero's journey myth exists in all human cultures and keeps getting updated because we humans reflect on our world through symbolic stories of our own lives. You leave your comfort zone, have an experience that transforms you, and then you recover and do it again. You don't literally slay dragons or fight Voldemort, but you face problems just as scary. Joseph Campbell said, "In the cave you fear to enter lies the treasure you seek." What is the symbolic cave you fear to enter? Auditions for the school play? Baseball tryouts? Love? Watch for this formula in books, movies, and TV shows you come across. You will certainly see it again, but also be sensitive to it in your own life. Listen for your call to adventure. Accept the challenge. Conquer your fear and claim the treasure you seek. And then do it all over again.
Great. So, what makes a hero? What is this hero's journey? Basically, if you look at the whole hero's journey, it is about 12 steps. However, for today's purposes, we're going to condense it into 3 parts, 3 key elements. The first is the departure, which is the challenge to the status quo. It's the mysterious message, the need to search for more, to answer a question, to seek for something greater than what is the current normalcy thing. The previous video we just watched gave this challenge, this moment of crisis, this call to adventure when Katniss Everdeen's sister in the Hunger Games was selected, and instead Katniss chose to go in her place. From there, the initiation begins. Here we see trials and tribulations. Katniss goes to the capital. She enters into the Hunger Games. Continuously, her life is threatened. She could die. That's the whole point of the game. But instead, she returns. She crosses the threshold. She beats the system. And now she has a new challenge. So the cycle begins again, which you see in the second movie, if any of you are big fans. And you see that she has to go and fight again. And in the second movie, she follows that same cycle, that same hero's journey. So I want to look at this quotation we read at the beginning of class. And I want to know, how does Joseph Campbell's quotation represent the hero's journey? How does this forest with no paths, and we're on it and we don't have anywhere to go, how does this represent the hero's journey? So if you can, in small groups, but please still independently, journal this into your Google Slide journals. Answer this. Find some examples. Pick this apart, sentence by sentence. Is it each sentence part of the journey? Is it the whole paragraph? Let's take a couple minutes and explore that. Great. So, I think that the whole paragraph in itself looks at, honestly, the departure, the call to adventure. This sense of challenge within the inner self. There's no path. What do I do? Where do I go? I could just not be in a path. I could follow someone else's path, but I want to dissect this by each sentence. So in the first sentence, it says, "You enter the forest at the darkest point where there is no path." Well, everything in a forest is similar. It's all alike, but still there's no path. So you're called, you're seek, you're challenged. This is where we're initiated because there isn't a way, there isn't a path, and it's someone else's path. We face the trials and tribulations of embarking on whichever way we choose. Then we return because we realize we're not on our own path. We cross the threshold realizing that our potential is greater outside of someone else's path. So, in your Google Slide journals, what I'd like us to do is exemplify or give examples of the 3 key elements of the hero's journey in Milkman's life. Now, we want to remember that Milkman is the protagonist in Song of Solomon, who is forced to leave home. There's a clue. And I did come up with a few food for thought questions. And I just would like a couple volunteers. Let's say 5, 1 for each number, so let's count off. Let's see. I'm going to start with Gavin over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes. Okay, good. Go. Gavin, can you start? How does the Joseph Campbell quotation we discussed relate to what we have read in Song of Solomon? How is the hero's journey relevant? What causes Milkman to pursue the call to adventure? What trials and tribulations does Milkman battle? How does he resolve them? Okay. So, if I were creating my own Google Slide journal, I might want to answer these questions. I definitely would want to go back into the text, go back into our Google Slide where we've done chapter summaries and see where has Milkman departed? Where has he faced that call to adventure? And then from there, that initiated what trials and tribulations? I want examples. What are his trials? What are his tribulations? Where is his path? Is he on his own path? Is he following someone else's path? Then I'd like you to give an example of Milkman crossing the threshold, returning from that new and awe sense of wonder into a state of the new status quo, the new normalcy. What is that new for Milkman? How does he grow? How does he change? I know those are a lot of questions, a lot of food for your brain, but I just want to get you guys thinking and find examples independently in the text. So again, here are the instructions. And as we work, I'm going to be checking in on everyone's Google Slide journals. So you'll see my little name pop up as you work along, and that's okay. I just want to see how you're doing with your chapter summaries and comment and edit as you're working through. So we'll take about 10 minutes or so of class to complete this, and then we're going to come back together and go from there. And I want to see some examples as a whole class so everyone can get a good grasp on what their peers are working on. Great. So if everyone can bring their attention back in, I would like from our desk groups, let's have one person come up. One person from each desk come up and do the departure. One person in that same desk group come up and give an example for initiation, and then another person will come up and give an example for return write them onto the smartboard. And I'll take a screenshot of this and repost this into our class Google Slides so you guys can go back and access all of our class notes after the fact. So we're going to spend a little time doing this, and then we'll review them as a class, and then we'll move on to our exit ticket. Excellent. I can really see that you guys are grasping this. I would encourage you to go through your book, underline and highlight the text like we practice, just to find those concrete examples. I mean, it's really crazy how many texts follow this example. You saw in the video with Lord of the Rings follows it, Harry Potter follows this timeline. You see, what else? Hunger Games, but it's not just fiction that follows that. I've read several memoirs. What's the new one that just came out? Educated is a great book, which is based on her life, and you see not just one hero's journey she follows, but you actually see that cycle of her departure, her initiation, her return back to the status quo, and then departure, initiation, return. So sometimes you can find small micro heroes journeys within the larger scope of the heroes journeys, and I think I can see some examples of that here with what you guys have shown. So as our exit ticket, Keisha is going to be passing out index cards. Thank you, Keisha. And please listen as I read these directions to you. So with bullet points 1 and 2, I'd like on one side of the index card to recall the 3 main elements of the hero's journey. Just list them out real quick, bullet point them, get them down. Then I'd like you to name a literary work, try to do something I have not said, that also follows the hero's journey. If you can, name what it is, like for example the Hunger Games, and then name the protagonist if you can remember. This can be from a book, it can be from a movie, a video game, whatever you're interested in, whatever comes to mind. Then on the flip side, I'd like you to take a few minutes and think about how are you on your own hero's journey? Have you completed a cycle? Is it from a big event? The video gave an example of a moment of crisis when you have to give a presentation, or maybe it's in the larger scope. What part in your life right now as 11th graders, where are you? Are you departing? Are you in the initiation? Are you in the return? And when you're done with your tickets, bring them up to me, and then I'll collect them, and then tomorrow we will be anonymously sharing those as to start as our warm-up. So thank you, and we'll just sit back and again bring them up when you're all set. If anyone has any questions, please let me know. In the meantime, I'll be reviewing your Google Slide journals.